this class, I'm going to be sharing with you how to create this beautiful inverted layer. So let's begin this technique. We've sectioned off by taking a part in right the way through the middle of the head. 2 diagonal forward sections have been taken to the middle of the ear, and then we plaited this hair in order to keep it cleanly and sectioned away from any layering. So I've just sectioned my first guide, my profile line. I'm going to start at the front. So I'm going to use my large cutting comb for this, and I'm going to use the wide end of the tooth comb to make it a bit more comfortable to comb through. So I'm also going to be using a 6.5 inch blade. Comb the hair directly up. I'm going to take my guide, see where that comes. That's possibly about right for me. I'm going to comb it 90 degrees from the top of the head, not the curvature. The curvature of the head is there, so 90 degrees becomes that direction. I'm not cutting it there. I'm going to cut it 90 degrees from the top of the head. So elevating it all forward. And you can see all that hair that needs, it's so fine. I don't think this dummy has been cut at all. So I'm going to start angling my fingers, maybe 45 degrees. So this is 90 degrees. That's half of 90. I'm going to take my guide and I'm going to club cut. I'm going to subdivide the hair to the ear, so I get the back and I get the front. So I'm just going to come horizontal sections parallel to my profile line, and I'm going to over direct it towards me. So 90 degrees from the top of the head, over directing it back into the middle of my section. Wide end of the tooth comb. Take part of my section. Of directing into the middle. I'm going to work all the way down in horizontal sections and over directing it back into the middle. I'm always going to work the layers first and work the length afterwards. My last section, come up. One of the reasons why you would over direct towards you is if you over direct away from you, you can't really see where you're going to. So I'm pulling it towards myself, making sure clean, nice section. Once I've completed that, I will keep my section up there and I'm going to work horizontal sections here. So I'm going to be working into my section around the crown area. Bearing in mind, my first profile line was cut. I'm going to take a tiny bit of that section and over direct it back onto my previous section there. 45 degrees, 90 degrees from the top of the head, 45 degrees here. You can see my guide, 90 degrees from the top of the head. Over directing it into the middle. So let's look into this a little bit more. My scissor, my comb, and my layering technique here. So my scissors, I'm always using my scissors away from the face at this time, okay? So when I'm combing the hair down, my scissors are pointing away from the face. My layers, as you can see, my layers have naturally been cut in from my layering technique up here. So what I want to do now is just really, I'm just going to take a little triangle section. So from my my section, my diagonal back, I'm going to take a little triangle at the middle. So I'm going to take it to about there, and I'm going to take my guide, I'm going to pinch it. So bearing in mind, if I elevate this up, what's going to happen? It's going to become a little bit softer. If I elevate this up even further, it's going to become softer again. But what you have to do is, bearing in mind, this can be a lot heavier, but as you come down to the perimeter, this is a lot softer, so the elevation can't be too high here. The elevation's got to be lower in order to get this more of a cohesive blend all the way down. So I've got my guide there now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open my fingers up like this. I'm going to start trying to go from my longest area, working my way up. Bearing in mind, if my elevation was higher up here, it's going to start getting lower right now. See, what you have to do is actually bring your comb right the way down. Where your fingers stop, continue the comb right the way through to the ends. Get your comb out the way, hold your hands out like a fan, and you're going to go up towards your bit that you've just cut. Don't recut this, that's important, otherwise you're going to keep going shorter and shorter and shorter. So always, and that doesn't make any difference whether you're doing layers internally or whether you're doing layers around the perimeter. Don't recut sections again and again. So if I hold it, I've got to fan this area out. So I've got my guide there, that's my guide, and I'm going to start cutting up. That's why I use a large scissor on these, because it's easier to cut up lines. See my guide, that's where I want to go to. Blend it in all the way down. So I'm going to work now more natural hair fall here. If you start dragging all of this hair forward, what's that going to do? That's going to start lightening all this hair here. So you could lighten the hair too much from here if you start bringing all this forward. So what we need to do now is just keep the natural hair fall. So we've got detail here, natural hair fall now. Where the hair falls naturally. So if the hair's going to fall naturally down here, you're going to cut it to this point. So I'm going to continue with my length, and I'm going to round this a little bit rather than it being too square at the bottom. I like the softness that we've created. What I'm going to do, separate it in half. You can take larger sections here. So I'm going to cut it slightly over to this side, okay? So it rounds this line a little bit more. And take off all this dead hair. And I'm going to point cut my ends. And I'm working on one side and then working back on the other side. Just works a little bit more efficiently and effectively. So check your balance, making sure that you're going in the right direction by feel. Happy with that length. Combing your next section down. Not much hair to cut off here. So we've just blasted the hair off in order for us to start styling this technique. So I'm just going to hold the scissors on my finger and I'm going to go like this several times. That's what you see underneath. Just to soften those front bits out. The curling iron in there. going to bring it forward. If you want it really curly, you have to come really curly, like almost like this. But I'm going to come down a little bit more. It's more diagonal. I'm going to roll that around, twist it, pull it, come through to the ends and pull it down. So when we've come up the back, we've come a few different directions, and this is what I mean. So I'm coming in diagonally, pulling this curling iron towards me, swiveling it around, and again coming towards me 3 times. So that's my third section there. So when it comes to the ends, I pull it straighter a little bit more. Now this side, this section here, trying to give the sections a kind of consistency with the size of the section, coming diagonally the other way, roll it round underneath itself, another pull, which is another curl, and then another pull there. So that's 3 sections. Once we have completed the whole technique, it is cooled down. Now you can start brushing this technique out. So we just really go from the ends, working our way up. Watch the way we're going to actually style this up a little bit more. I really hope you like this technique, and it's very useful for you on the salon floor. Please leave a review or a comment below, because it helps other hairdressers reading about the class.